Hey guys, so it's Andrew from Southern Bassin, and today I'm just kind of hanging around my house, and I'm like, you know what, I kind of want to do a wrap-up for the New Hampshire series. I appreciate everyone that stuck around and watched all three of the videos from when we were in New Hampshire. It was a great experience, and I kind of just want to share what we're using for gear and how we located fish on Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire. So anyone that never finds himself on that lake can kind of have a starting point, can go find fish that way, or find the fish their own way. But first I want to start off with the weather, so you can kind of match up weather with when you're there. When we were there, it was mid-August, water temperature between 70 and 75 depending on where we were on the lake. And it was very windy, clear but windy. As you can tell by the video, there's all that wind noise. It was going pretty good at some points where we were actually taking some waves over the bow. So it was a little choppy, but the fishing was pretty good. So let me break into what we're using for rods, because for smallmouth I think it's important that you get the right rods. So to start off, we use these two rods primarily. I mean, we were fishing other things, but these two rods primarily. This is the Shakespeare Ugly Stick Elite in a medium. It's a very light rod. It's got a lot of action. And this rod I paired with a Pflueger President XLT. And each of these rods, they are both awesome drop shot rods and Ned rig rods. You can get a lot of feel out of them. The other rod that's a little bit more kind of specific is a Mojo Bass. This is a medium light drop shot rod that they make, and that's paired with a Pflueger President too. And the reason you want light tackle, like both of these rods are extremely light, and the reason you want that is you got to be able to feel the difference between a rock and a fish, because them smallmouth, they tend to just kind of tap it, and you got them, and if you're using the heavy rod, you don't know that you have them. And you can't really distinguish the difference between your drop shot weight getting stuck in the bottom or a fish. So you want to use light tackle when you fish for smallmouth. And even more important, when you are fishing for smallmouth, you need to have a light line. Smallmouth tend to get scared by the line extremely easily. They can see it. You want to be using the clearest line possible. You want to be using a light line, anywhere from 6 to 10 pounds. I highly recommend, what we throw on all my light rods is Seaguar and VizX 8-pound line. This happens to be 10 pound because I ran out of 8, but 8-pound line is what I had on the rods in the video. And I mean, there's some points where we were even kind of starting out and we were trying to find fish that we had on a 6-pound leader. We ended up finding out that the fish weren't incredibly leader shy, so we went with that 8 pounds, so we weren't breaking off as many fish. But like I said, Seaguar and VizX, they make an incredibly clear line. The fish are really not going to see, especially when there's the chop like we had. Like I said, I'd recommend going out, if you're going smallmouth fishing, you got to have a light line. So, that being said, what do you do with that light line? What do you attach on? We were fishing primarily 2 rigs. We were fishing a Ned rig and a drop shot rig. Both are finesse techniques. For the drop shot, we were using a little tiny 1/8 ounce to 1/4 ounce, depending on what depth we were at, Ned rig head. They are fantastic heads. You got to make sure that they have the little keeper on them, because without that little keeper, it can be difficult for like the smallmouth to rip that little Ned rig worm off. So you got to have the keeper on it, and you're gonna fish this kind of the same way you'd fish a Texas rig, where you're gonna drag it, kind of like hop it quick across the bottom. The fish will really, they love this thing, they really do. And it's one of the, it seems to me that if they're hitting a drop shot, they'll be hitting the drop shot a little bit more than Ned rig, but there are times when the Ned rig comes through and shines more than the drop shot. So what we were throwing on this drop shot, we were throwing 2 different worms. This is the Bass Pro Shop Tournament Series Ned rig worm. They call it the Sticko, and this is their morning dawn color. It's a fantastic color. Smallmouth love it, and personally I really dig the way it looks. It's an awesome color. And when we were fishing, we were finding primarily this color was working well in the morning. I think it's probably due to low light conditions where this kind of stood out a little bit more than a more natural presentation. And This worm, like I said, it's cheap. Bass Pro Shop, they got a whole variety of these sticko worms, but in my opinion, this is my favorite color from their series of worms. As it got later in the day, we transitioned over to a little bit more natural colored worm, although it did still have some pop on it. That being the 3-inch Robo Ned worm. This was made by Robo Worm. This is their green pumpkin perch. When you're up north, it's a good bet that they're going to be perch wherever you're fishing. So if you're going up north to fish, first time up there, perch colors are a no-brainer. You got to pick some up if you're going up there. These worms, they're a little bit longer than the sticko worms. They got a little bit more beef to them. We were actually taking off the first, like, I don't know, a couple centimeters of it and just chopping it down, making it smaller. But these things, compared to the stickos, I will tell you that these hold up a lot better to fish. The fish are not going to tear them as much, and they also got the salt on them, and so we were finding that these were catching a little bit bigger fish than the sticko, but in the morning in the low light conditions, they were not touching this. They wanted that morning dawn brighter color. As the day went on and the light picked up, they were looking for this more natural color. Like I said, this was kind of like our go-to after like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's another great Ned rig worm. Highly recommend you pick it up. Robo Worm's got a whole bunch of colors in this, so if you're going fishing anywhere, fishing with Ned rig, Robo Worm, like I said, they got a bunch of different colors for that. So, on to the second rig, which was honestly primarily what we used. Like I said, there were times when the Ned rig outfished the drop shot rig, but the drop shot rig for smallmouth is hands down probably one of the best rigs for them. We were fishing on, like I said, that light line. We were doing the 8-pound Invisex fluoro down to a VMC drop shot hook, and on that drop shot hook we were tossing 3 different things. So 2 of our worms were coming from Robo Worm. They make these straight tail worms. They are fantastic for finesse fishing, and in my personal opinion, although a lot would argue this, the best color straight tail worm you can get for smallmouth is a color known as bitchin' craw. It is a really cool color. It's kind of like a natural craw color in my opinion, but it's, you know, they put it on this worm and it works really well. We were fishing 2 different sizes. We were fishing a 4.5-inch straight tail and a 6-inch straight tail, and both produced fish. The 6-inch were producing a lot bigger fish. If you're looking for those big smallmouth, you can upsize it, and these 6-inch Robo Worms do the job. We were fishing these just like you would any drop shot. We were either casting it out and kind of hopping it back to us, or just literally dropping straight below the boat and hopping it off the bottom. The smallmouth, though, they hit it either way. You could even try dead sticking it, which I managed to get a couple dead sticking it while I was like doing something else. I just had the rod in the water and was kind of like watching the tip as it did something. But these, like I said, these worms, fantastic worms. Robo Worm, once again, makes a lot of different colors of these. So you can go pick yourself up whatever color you need. Now the other worm that we were using, we were kind of testing out for a drop shot. Usually I don't use these on a drop shot, but I thought it might be a cool idea. These are BizBait's Dizzy Diamonds. You'll see me and Marshall use these all the time on our shaky rig. They are one of the best shaky head worms, in my opinion, out there. They got an awesome action to them. They smell great, and they got some really cool colors. This one is watermelon candy, but we were also throwing these on the rod. And, you know, they got this little tiny like diamond in the back, like you see. That's why they call it the Dizzy Diamond. They got this little diamond shape in the back that, when that's in the water, gives it a really good action, even on the drop shot. And the smallmouth they were kind of hit or miss with this. We caught a lot of our big ones on this, but the small ones seemed to stay away from it. I think it was because it has a little bit bigger profile. But I highly recommend BizBait's, made here in North Carolina. They are a fantastic company. They're one of my favorite people to work with, and they make some great, awesome products. The Dizzy Diamond, one of my favorite worms, and also the Killer Craw. Anytime you see me throwing a Texas rig, it most likely has a Killer Craw on it in a variety of different colors. The Dizzy Diamonds, like I said, they are the best shaky head worm I've ever used. The spots in North Carolina, love them, and as it turns out, so do the smallmouth in New Hampshire. So they're really good all-around baits. They really are. So with that being said, After that VMC hook, tipped with whatever worm we had, we did anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of line between the hook and the drop shot weight. We tend to go down to the 6 pound at VizX for that. Kind of made it a little harder for the fish to see, and in the case that you got snagged, it kind of popped off a lot easier than the 8 pounds, so you didn't lose your whole rig, you just lost your weight. And I mean that when you're fishing drop shot, anyone that's fished drop shot knows that you're going to get hung up at some point, so it's good to have that. Now for our weight, we were using a 1/4 ounce Wu Tungsten drop shot weight. It is the best drop shot weight I have ever bought. It's got this kind of like swivel tip to it that is friggin' awesome. I mean, this gets stuck and you're gonna be able to kind of like pull it out because it's got that swivel to it. And it also doesn't chip. I have not yet chipped this drop shot weight ever. And it is, you know, like I said, smallmouth, they're so picky about what they can see, what they can't see, that sometimes it's good to have smaller, but you still need to get down to that depth. And that's where tungsten comes in big. Because this, between a normal lead 1/4 ounce drop shot weight, this is a lot smaller. The fish are going to have a harder time seeing this. You get it in either green or black, so you can kind of pick what watercolor you're going to be working with, how to like blend it in. And it is an all-around great drop shot weight. Like I said, I love Wu Tungsten. They are awesome. I use their Texas rig weights, their nail weights, their drop shot weights. They are all great. So I recommend, I'm linking all of this stuff in the description, by the way. So if you want to go out and pick some up, we're going to have everything, the worms, the drop shot weights, you know, the rigs I was using, the rods, the reels, line, everything is going to be down in the description, so check that out. And so essentially now what I want to tell you guys is how we found these fish in New Hampshire. We were fishing for the first time on Lake Winnipesaukee. We had never fished there before in our lives. We pulled up on the first morning, and I knew exactly 100% what I wanted to go out and do. I wanted to go and find deep water smallmouth, because during the summer those smallmouth tend to be deeper. We did try up shallow. If you watched the second video, you saw how that turned out. We really did not find anything shallow. They were all deep. And when I was looking on the graph, I was looking for transition points. Anything that went from like 40 to 20 feet, like really quick. And I was marking those on my graph, and when I was going over those spots, I was looking for rocks. And if you're going to one of these lakes, it is super important, if you're looking for smallmouth, to have a graph. For me, I use a Humminbird Helix 10. This is their Helix 10. This is a side scan unit. It's their mega scan unit. And this is like the biggest tool you can have to find smallmouth. Let me tell you why. Because that side scan comes in handy. When you're pulling up on these transition points, you have to find rocks. If there's no structure, there's most likely not going to be any smallmouth on it. That being said, you can get away without using it. Simply look for buoys that mark rocks. If you're on northern lakes, chances are there's going to be a couple of rocks that are marked. You just go around and fish by them. But if you're looking for those spots that no one else knows about, you need to have the unit with the side scan or down scan. You can either use both, but I tend to aim more for the side scan because you can cover more water. What I was doing is I was just idling past these, and if I saw any rocks at all sitting in that transition, we were dropping down drop shot rates and we were looking for fish. Those fish were tending for us to be sitting between 20 and 30 feet of water. They were really not anywhere up shallower. We're like 20 and up, we really weren't getting too much. In fact, when we went from the transition to 20 feet to 15 feet, we were finding a lot of rock bass, a lot of crappie, not very many smallmouth. But the minute we got below that 20-foot point, it was all smallmouth, really, pretty much. So, I mean, that is really the biggest thing when you're looking for smallmouth, is to find that structure and then find what depth they're at. Like I said, when we started out in about 10 feet of water and gradually worked our way down until we found a point where we were catching a lot of smallmouth. And then essentially we were moving around, and really any 20 or 30 foot zone that we pulled up in that had a lot of structure, we were catching smallmouth. Certain ones produced a lot more. For me, that both the first and second part of this were filmed on the same transition. And that transition was essentially this long, flat that was all about 10 foot of water. And then it got out maybe like a half mile offshore and dropped down to about 40 feet. And right on that drop, right where that 20 to 30 foot mark was where we caught primarily all of the smallmouth you see in this video. And I mean, it was a lot of fun. So if you're ever going out there, you're gonna catch a lot of fish. You really are. And anyone that wants to know more about this, you feel free to message me about it, and I'm willing to tell you a little bit more in depth about what we were doing. But that is the basics of how we caught smallmouth in New Hampshire. I hope you guys all enjoyed this whole series. Me and my brother Joe, we love making it for you. It was an awesome trip to New Hampshire. We had a couple boat problems that shortened our day. Unfortunately, on the second day, we really could have caught a lot more fish that day had those boat problems not happened. But that's the way it happens. So I appreciate you guys sticking around. Like I said, for this series, it's been amazing, and I appreciate all the support. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And I hope to see you guys out on New England waters. If you have any smallmouth catches, send them my way. I want to see them, especially if you catch them on them BizBaits Dizzy Diamonds, because let me tell you, these things are fantastic. You gotta try them out. And I hope you guys take all this advice and go catch yourself a lot of fish. This isn't just straight for New Hampshire. This technique works for smallmouth pretty much anywhere in the country. So it's not like I'm just being very area specific, but New Hampshire in particular, that is how we caught them. And I appreciate you guys sticking around, and I got a lot of new stuff coming between tournaments and some old kind of like throwback videos from earlier in the summer that I just haven't rolled out yet. So there's going to be a lot more content coming, and I appreciate you guys watching, so thanks. I'll see you guys later.